Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Play Together, Stay Together podcast, brought to you by
Paradise Golf Apparel.
Paradise Golf Apparel, the #1 golf apparel brand in all the land. Today we have two guests with us, my parents, Skip and Kelly. Say hi.
Hi.
This is their first time on a podcast, so we're going to be real gentle with them. We are going to keep this going like we've been doing our other podcasts in two parts. So part one, what are we doing with part one, Rach?
Talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
So
what we
going
did at
over what we did
Christmas.
and kind of our weekend and just breaking it down for you guys.
Awesome. Then part two will just be about being a team with your significant other, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever your significant other. We're going to talk about being a team. And that's why we invited my parents here, because they really know about that. They've been together almost
40 years.
40 years. Yeah.
Married 40.
Married 40 years.
And probably together 45.
Yeah, so if anybody knows about teamwork, it is going to be the two of them. So before we start with the relationship stuff, with the teamwork stuff, let's talk about Christmas.
It was a busy weekend. And we had my family over on Saturday, which was Christmas Eve, and started out with brunch, open gifts, chaotic, kids everywhere. We ended it with family game night, which was fun. That was a new tradition we did. And then it's Christmas Day, we went into it again with our kids and had Skip and Kelly over here all morning and had our family and just everybody.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend.
Yeah. Oh, and
Right.
then went to your cousins.
Yeah. So a lot of my family stuff on Christmas Day, a lot of her family stuff on Christmas Eve. But we did something that we've never done before on Christmas Eve, right?
Which was the game night.
Yeah. Tell us about the game night. Put them on the spot, folks.
Well, it was a lot of fun.
We played Telestrations After Dark.
Yeah.
Right. When the
Right.
kids went to bed, there was telestrations
adult
after dark.
games, and
What
then
did you guys
like
think
the
about
day-
Telestrations?
It was funny. It's amazing how people see things in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of laughs. It was fun.
Definitely a game to get and play with your friends.
Yeah.
For adults.
For adults only, yes.
For those of you that don't know what Telestrations is, it's like playing telephone, but drawing. So instead of me telling her, a word, and then she tells him, and then he tells her, and then it gets back to me all jumbled up, you draw it. So I would draw whatever my word is. She would write what she thought it was. He would draw what she wrote, and it would go around, and it turns into just a hilarious hodgepodge.
A very dirty game.
Right.
But they have
right.
they have a
Yeah.
family version.
Yeah, Telestrations regular,
Right.
I guess.
Anything after dark is, though, a little funner. And
yeah.
definitely for adults.
A whole lot of fun.
What other game do we play?
We play...
Oh,
what-
Hot Seat.
Oh, what was... Everybody can see you guys. When you talk to each other, everybody sees it. They're watching
Making
you.
fun of
I know.
something.
They saw it.
There's not a green light on.
Oh, well there's red
That
light.
one's
Okay,
recording
so
now.
we played Telestrations, but we also played a new game that you came up with, right?
Right. Everybody had a little gift in their hand, and we read The Night Before Christmas. And every time the word "the" comes up in that story, you pass your gift to the right. And every time the word "and" comes up in the story, you pass your gift to the left. So you don't
It was a
get
blast.
back what you started out with. And because our family is so competitive, we went as fast as humanly possible trying to, get the gifts around, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it didn't help that Matt was reading over your shoulder and already 2 steps ahead of you.
I was
trying to
watching
pass
Matt.
the gift. Me
Right.
too.
So when he would go left, I was like, all right, well, it's going to be the word "the," so I got to get ready. And
Well, sometimes John had like 4 gifts in front of him, and there were 3 other people with no gifts because
yeah.
of the speed. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
That
Oh,
was fun.
yeah. Rachel's sister brought her new boyfriend, who has only met us one time before we played these dirty games
And
and
will
these
never be back.
competitive games, and it had to have been wild for him.
I think he likes us.
Oh,
You
yeah.
loved
I don't know
it
how
or
you
you
put
hate
it.
it. Yeah.
Anything else big happen? Anything? Oh, so we talked about the letters on the last show a little bit. Let's talk about the letters.
Oh, letters was great for me this year because Callie, their 17-year-old, had me, but she wasn't going to be with us when we actually read the letters, so she gave me mine prior to. So I got to read it, and it was amazing and tearful. And then when we went over to Michael's, everybody else read their letters, and it was the first time I got to watch everybody read their letters.
Oh, that had been cool.
It was amazing watching people's faces when someone actually verbalized how they felt about them and thoughts they had about them. And our families had such a great year in terms of the kids all being really successful and moving forward.
Yeah.
And just to see everybody's faces when they read those, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Oh, I bet it
priceless.
was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times when you put things on paper, you know, you're freer.
Yeah.
You say more
Yeah.
than face to face, and in a good way. Where sometimes, like in emails or texts, you might say something and someone may construe it completely
Yeah.
different than what you meant it to be. And probably the most important thing is it's always you have it. And when you're having a bad day, you can look at it and it really brightens it up.
Yeah.
You can save them for forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Such
I loved
a
it.
great gift idea and
Yeah.
family kind of camaraderie.
I think the adults in our family and even the kids look forward to that more than the actual gifts.
Yeah.
It's a letter time. Who do you have this year? And it was great fun.
And it is kind of wild how, you know, when you're younger and you see everybody opening gifts. And this year was the first year that I didn't see any adults. Anybody, you know, Callie was kind of she's the cutoff for kids. And nobody above Callie opened a gift except for the present. And I didn't hear anybody like huffing and gruffing that they didn't get anything.
You mean except for the letter?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
meant like a present that you would unwrap, you know,
Right.
beside the letter. Nobody cared. It wasn't it to me. That's more what Christmas should strive to be, is that personal, family loving experience. Not so much about gifts, but about the love.
Right. Well, and what's that Matt saying for gifts? I love that.
Oh, yeah. So Matt adopted a new thing that he got from his mom. So he gets 4 gifts for somebody. The first gift is something you want, which is supposed to be the bigger of the gifts. The second is something you need. One of them is something
You wear.
you wear, and the other is something to read.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea on, you know, how to get people gifts. But he got that from his mom, and she talked about that. That was
Yeah,
cool.
I like that.
But yeah, Christmas was a huge success. I think everybody walked away with a ton of stuff, and I didn't see any disappointed faces.
No,
No.
not at all.
No.
And
It was
even
a
the
great
little
Christmas.
kids, they didn't like, I'm done. It was just the right amount of gifts
Yeah.
that kept them interested. And because we open them one by one,
Yeah.
nobody's ripping through. So when Addie opens one, she has time to look at it as we go all the way around to Papa, one by one, and then it comes back to her. She's ready to open another
Yeah.
one.
We
Yeah.
talked about that on our last show. We talked about the difference between her family and our family, because her family's big on like, all right, 1, 2, 3, go, and everybody rips it apart. You don't really get to watch.
Yep.
Not
Did you
that
notice
that's the
this
wrong
year,
way.
though?
Yeah, this
They
year
did
we
it
kinda
differently. My
adopted
mom
it
was like, I
different.
want to see the kids open first. So
Sure.
Bailey and Graham opened, and then Addie, and then Callie, and then the adults did. Because as soon as we're like, let's do one at a time, every adult were like, no, I don't want that touched on me. So the kids opened. That way we got to see the individual things that they got, which was very different from my family.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right. Well, before we get to part 2 of this podcast, let's just go around the table and tell me the favorite thing that you got for Christmas. Start with Yaya.
The favorite thing that I got
They saw you say, don't start.
this Christmas, I think it had to be my letter from Callie. It was just so wonderful.
Yeah.
My girl. Love her.
All right, Dad.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. They all had great meanings to them. I think my youngest granddaughter gave me a back scratcher.
Addison,
And
yeah.
it was just the fact that, you know, she took time and she thought about it, where I think a lot of times adults don't put that much thought. To a certain point, they just buy to buy.
Yeah.
And she put some thought in it.
Nice.
From what I saw everyone get and from what I got from her. So it'd have to be that.
Love it.
That's a good one.
How about you?
I'll have to say my Z necklace.
Ooh, I got it.
I've been looking for a gold Z forever now, and he finally found one for me, and it's a Kendra Scott, and
Yeah,
keep it forever.
good. My favorite, Rachel got me a custom-made rocks glass that had a photo of us etched into it. Really like that. So
Nice.
it was a great Christmas.
It was. And nobody said the biggest thing they got, the most
No.
expensive. It's the most thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
We
thoughtful.
like the personalization gifts the best, I think. I think, you actually had to put the thought into it. I
Right.
think that's what means the most.
I agree. All right, well, we'll be right back. All right, we are back with part 2 of episode 12, brought to you by Tennessee Mountain Made whiskey that my parents found when they were at Old Red, which is Blake Shelton's bar. He's going to be on the podcast in a couple weeks, so we'll have him talk about it. But until he gets here, my dad is going to tell you the recipe of this beautiful drink.
Well, you start off with the Old Smoky Tennessee whiskey, and it's salted watermelon. And then you put a splash of lime juice in, and then you finish it off with ginger ale. Little stir and
So good.
it's good.
And
It's really good.
So good. You do not even taste the whiskey. You just taste watermelon, but not overly.
Yeah, and I don't like whiskey, and I know Zach's not a big whiskey drinker, so it's really good.
But
I'd
it's
give it a
only
try.
a couple
my
states. I don't know
little
if we can get it up here in
whiskey
Ohio.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kenzie said that Jeremy's mother could get
Oh,
it.
well, you know what? When
Okay.
Blake's on the podcast, we'll ask him. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll bring us some.
Maybe he'll
Blake,
bring a case.
bring us some.
Yeah.
I'll text Gwen.
Gwen.
All right, so we're back. Part 2 of this episode. We're going to talk about teamwork. So we've been picking a word that kind of correlates with relationships, and we were driving, returning some gifts today, and we thought, man, let's come up with a good word that we all really try to practice, and that was teamwork. Being a team with your significant other, with your partner, is huge in making your relationship work. If you don't act as one unit, as a team, you're never going to be able to move forward in your relationship, and your partner's going to feel that, right? What do you when you think of the word teamwork, kind of what with Dad, what comes to mind?
Well, we're obviously very different in personality. And when I feel upset or worried about something, I internalize. And when Dad feels me upset or worried about something, he's more like, let's talk about it, let's get it out there kind of thing. And I think if we weren't so opposite and we both internalize, I might explode because I keep a lot inside. So he balances my neurosis, for lack of a better word, and
Is that the
knows-
way you see it too?
Yeah, I think there's two main components. One, and the most important, and from coaching and even teaching, is communication.
We had a whole episode
You
about
look
that.
at any successful team in any sport, it's all about communication. And then the next is chemistry. You could let's say take a basketball team and have the best players in the NBA, but if they don't have chemistry or communication, they're really not a team. They're 5 guys that are very, very good.
Yeah, shout out to
So-
the Nets.
I think we do that. We do that well.
So you have the good
Communicate.
chemistry, you have the good communication,
Right.
and then you think that's what builds your
I think
strong
that's the-
team chemistry or
The
your
foundation.
teamwork.
Yeah,
and I know
really
I can
do.
count on him. I know no matter what, I'm number one. I've always known that. I don't ever worry about that position in his life. And I hope he knows he's number one with me. So I can count on him and he can count on me. No doubt. Doesn't matter the situation. It's us.
Yeah,
Not against the world, but us working our way through the world.
Yeah.
that was
Not
always.
alone.
I always knew that too. From a young age, I always knew, and I mean, it definitely helped that if we would get in trouble and we would backtalk our mom, our dad would pull us aside and he'd say, hey, I like her better than you.
Yeah.
She's always going to win no matter what. She's my number one. He wasn't shy about saying that by any means.
Right.
And for him to say that to us, I think helped me become a husband that knows that my wife needs to be my number one. Because if she's not my number one, then what am I doing? Because growing up, I always knew where I stood in the hierarchy for my family, and it was never on the same level as my parents because they were a team. You know, you and us against the world kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're a lot like you guys, couple-wise, in a lot of different ways, especially when it comes to your guys' communication and how you guys work as a team. I see us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to know because there are just so many other things and people that can get in the way
Mm-hmm.
of that. But to have that confidence that you're it, I know. And my mom and dad were like that too.
Yeah.
My dad, it was my mom, and you never had a question,
Mhm.
you know, like with you.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It was my mom, and then you were second, maybe third, you know.
The dog came second.
Shout out to Mackenzie.
But we
Yeah.
instill that in our kids too. He always tells the girls, you know, mom's first, and that's how it's going to be.
And you know what? When they grow up and they're looking for a guy, they're going to look for a guy who puts them there. They're not going to mess around with anybody who is going, well, you come after football or softball or
Yeah.
something like that. Be like,
No,
no.
bye.
Nobody's treating me that way.
No.
You know, it's funny that you say after football and softball and stuff because anytime I talk to my friends and we talk about like relationship stuff or things going on in their life and I want to give them any sort of advice, I always revert back to the word priorities, and I always try to mold my life personally around what my priorities are. I could list right now my top 5 priorities and they haven't changed. Well, I could list my top 3 and they haven't changed for as long as I can remember, and there's never going to be a day where she's not on the top of that list.
Right.
No matter what, no matter who comes and goes in my life, no matter how old I am, no matter anything, she's always going to be number one. And I think that's what you need to do when you're in a committed, healthy, prosperous relationship.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with that.
And as your parents looking in, we see that in black and white. No question to us that it's all about Rachel.
Yeah.
And same with you. It's
Mhm.
all about Zach, and that's very comforting because we don't worry that in 5 or 10 years you guys will be like, yeah, this isn't
Yeah.
working anymore. You're in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, you're in it for the long haul.
It's like a job that,
Yeah.
if you love it, it's not a job.
Right.
It's a career.
Mhm.
And when you're matched up with someone and you want to use the word team or whatever word you use and you truly love them, it's life. It's not a chore. It's not something you don't look forward to.
Yeah.
It's an adventure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. It's totally an adventure.
And none of us should be with our partners if you think about it. Like Dad and
Right.
I.
I'm way too good looking to be with Rachel.
Someone's way too good looking.
It ain't you.
Yeah, it ain't you.
It's this hottie next to you.
Yeah. But I think, Dad and I should have never found one another. You two really should have never found
Right.
one another. You're from very different places. And
I think sometimes that really works, that we're from two, and you would think, talking about teamwork and the way that we put each other first. I came from a household with 2 parents married. Rachel came from a household with 2 parents unmarried. So she had
Divorced.
and she had a very different experience seeing a relationship than I did seeing a relationship.
right. And when you mesh those two together, that's where you get the perfect
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time growing up, I didn't want to be married. I didn't want to have kids. I didn't want any of that. Because I saw, all I saw was divorce.
Right, your experience.
Nothing on my mom or my dad, but that's just all I saw. But when I met him, it's just my whole priorities changed.
Right.
I wanted that, marriage. I wanted that life, and it's crazy how
when
things
you meet
change.
the right person.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to work at it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had to work at it.
No.
No.
No, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. We talked about how a lot of people call marriage, work, and you have to every day you have to work, and I don't see it as work. It goes back to what you said, where if you have a job that you love, you don't have to work. Well, I have a job that I love.
Right.
I don't look at it as work. It's just fun.
There are some days that are struggle.
Yeah.
There are some days that feel maybe like work. But when we get up in the morning, there's no work. We usually get up and we're laughing about how late we slept or how,
Oh, retired life.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get there.
Right.
Part of our
Should we
life.
go on the boat? Should we go on the lake? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not work, but then, if something happens with one of you kids, then it becomes,
Yeah.
a little more challenging because
So maybe that's where a little bit of the stress comes from, is just the kids.
It's always your
Yeah.
kids.
Well, that and
kids,
outside,
money.
I think outside elements like
Influencing
your
it.
job. If you lose your job,
Yeah.
depression sits in. Then the other person has to. I don't want to say take up the slack, but has to kind of be the leader and the motivator at
Yeah.
the time. And that's going to be a trade-off. It's going to be give and take. And again, me with my background, it's always about, I relate everything to sports. If you have somebody that's not on, if you have a pitcher that's not pitching well, you put in another pitcher or a quarterback or whatever, and then you come back to it. And it's just something that you have to be willing to, step up and say, okay, well, I can do this.
I'll carry the slack.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get through it, and it's always we. It's not me or you. It's, or I. It's us. And I think that's the main thing. That's where you got to look at it.
So, do you think that there's things that people can do that maybe are listening to this that are like, all right, that sounds great. I don't feel that so much in my relationship. How can people get more to this point? Like, I feel like we're there. I feel like you're there. How can we help people get to being there?
I think they have to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Write down what their priorities
And
are.
it has to be, you have to lay down, I don't know, ground rules or whatever, but you have to say, look, let's not get mad. Here's our goal.
Yeah.
This is our goal here. Now, how can we get there? Well, Mom might say, Skip, there's a couple things that bother me.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't tell me that, I don't know it. It's like kids in school.
Yeah.
If your kid comes home and says, Billy's picking on me all the time, or says things that hurts my feelings, well, tell Billy that, and maybe Billy will stop. But being an adolescent, maybe not. But as an adult, you got to look at those things and say, well, I never realized that.
Yeah.
Maybe what I find funny, she doesn't. And so I don't do that anymore.
And also giving your significant other a heads up on where you're at. Like if you are really worried about work, but you don't want to bring it home, you don't have to talk about everything, but you have to say, look, things are tough at work. I'm feeling a lot of stress. Just giving them the heads up so they can either back off or, step up. One of the other things. But if you never tell them and expect them to just know, that's unfair.
You're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
And you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
And then you
like
start
that.
keeping in your head, oh, he knows I'm stressed, but he didn't undo the dishwasher. He didn't do this. And then all of a sudden you have a list of things and you're like, really?
Now you hate
God?
that person.
Yeah.
It's
They
hard
don't
to
even
come
know
back
it.
from that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah.
So I think giving people a heads up on where you're at emotionally is probably pretty important.
Yeah. At the beginning of our relationship, we had issues. I don't want to say issues, but we had concerns
Yeah,
like
little
that.
things.
Where we got a postcard and we wrote down 5 things that we wanted to see a change or more of. And we just swapped.
Yeah.
We read them. And it was like, done.
Right.
It was
Right.
like what you said earlier in the show with the letters. It's easier to put things on paper.
Yeah.
Especially things that other person might be like,
Because
what do you mean I chew too loud?
Yeah.
Well,
It can be uncomfortable. And, because maybe your small ass can be a little embarrassing, and
Yeah.
it's easier to write
I thought
down.
you said small ass.
I did too.
Small ass.
Well,
Ass.
just get in the gym.
ASK. I will say number 5 on Zach's list was to make more chocolate chip cookies.
Oh,
Yeah, he's eating chocolate chip
how's
cookies in
that
his
been
house.
rolling?
I haven't really been making
There's no
them.
chocolate chip cookies.
We're
in
on
my
a fitness
pantry.
journey, and that's not going to help us.
But it's that communication. like they were talking about. It's that, sacrifice that helps build that team.
Right.
And once you build that team, I think you're pretty good to go.
Yeah. Just don't go on cruise control for too long. You still got
No.
to check in with each other
Right, you
every
gotta
now
practice,
and
you
then.
gotta train.
And if you just put that on cruise, it will eventually fall apart.
And you
It
do.
will.
I mean, you don't like to use the word work, but you have to put effort
Yeah.
into
That's a
it.
good
You
word.
have to.
Our last
you
show was
know,
about effort.
You have to. You can't put it in cruise control.
Yeah.
It's got to be. You got to watch the road. You can't put it in cruise control and lay back and go do stuff. You got
Don't
to.
look at me just because I have a Tesla.
This is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And the other person notices when you put forth effort, and
Mhm.
it encouraged them to do it too.
Yeah.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
he sees I'm down. He's making me laugh. I want to do something to make him feel better, because if I feel bad, he feels bad, and vice versa.
And
so,
express that gratitude.
Yeah,
Express that gratitude to their effort.
maybe with chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, that'd be great.
Thanks, Kelly.
But
Maybe you
that's-
can make those for you.
That's
later.
going to go a long way.
Right.
It's a two-way road.
Sure.
I can't put in all the effort and not receive any gratitude back. And I'm not saying you have to, make a big deal about it, but
No,
You just have to say it.
Right.
I notice you're whatever helping me out a little bit more. That means the world to me.
and it's the little things. What's the little thing I did for you today? Without getting into details, what's the little thing I did for you today?
Oh, you switched seats. He saw me upset, and he was in the passenger seat of the truck.
Front
and
seat, front passenger.
Yeah, for a passenger, and he had Addie. And this is dangerous, but he had Addie switching seats, and he came
We
back
pulled
and
over.
just
Stop the
comforted
car.
me. He just was there for me when I was in need and just upset.
Right.
So,
And what did that take?
2
2
seconds.
seconds.
And
2
she
seconds.
did not say, I'm upset. You could look at her face and
Yeah.
you could see that she was upset.
yeah.
Had no idea why.
Right.
And that's another thing with being a partner, being a
Mhm.
couple. You read those signs and you just have to react to them.
But if you don't read the signs, then maybe later on that day you say, Zach, I was upset. I wish
Yeah.
you would have been back here with me. Again, communicating,
Mhm.
Right.
and then it's going to be, okay, I didn't realize that. I'm
And then what'll
sorry.
happen
And
next
now
time?
Right.
You'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you won't think about it. It'll be natural.
Right.
But if you never say anything, it's just gonna sit with you, and it's gonna piss you off more. and
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
worth
it's
it.
gonna
It's just
hurt
going to
your
build,
relationship.
Yeah.
build.
And you're
till
gonna
ready to-
explode. And there's gonna be 25 things on your list that you want to go over. It's like, oh my god.
He's like, oh, we're good.
You never talk so much.
We're gonna do a podcast every week.
Oh gosh, that is so funny. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about with teamwork? Anything to leave people off with? We talked about communication. We talked about being a team. Are we good? We think people got it?
It's all effort. I mean, you have to put forth the effort, and you can't go in
Cruise control.
cruise
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
And when you find your special teammate, don't bring other people in.
Yep.
Don't be telling your girlfriends, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, and getting their advice, because they're not living in that house.
Mhm.
They don't know how you guys react.
And
to
all
one
they're
another.
gonna know is the negative that you're telling about that person.
Right.
We talked about that the other day. We have a friend that has, a significant other, and all this friend does is tell us what a crummy person that their significant other is. Crummy person. And then a couple weeks later, we're like, hey, why don't you hang out with this person? Well, you told us what a dirtbag that person is. Why would we want to hang out? Well, that person's a great person.
You know all your friends are at home going, did you talk about me? Is it me? Are they talking about me?
Oh, they probably know. Awesome. Well, that is it for us. That is our Christmas, being a team, and the lovely Mr. and Mrs. Henniger here. Why don't you guys say goodbye?
Bye. It was
Bye.
great
Happy
spending
New
time
Year.
with you.
We'll see you back for episode 13.
Bye.